The first thing I want to say is stop complaining. Stop complaining because nobody gives a f. The reality is nobody gives a f about you complaining. Nobody wants to talk to somebody that complains all the time, and it's a very unattractive trait. Look, I'm not saying that every once in a while you had a bad day or something unfortunate happens to you and you share it with a friend. That's completely different. Everybody has their ups and they have their downs. I'm talking about the chronic complainer, the constant FML people. Every time you talk to this person, they talk about how hard things are and how much they can't just catch a break and the world is against them. The chronic complainer. The problem with people that complain constantly is that all you're doing is constantly reinforcing how much things suck, because all you do is complain about it, and you're programming your brain to constantly feel like it's never going to get better, and the perception becomes the reality. I always say that money, success, winning attitudes are all a state of mind. Yes, life is difficult. Facts. Yes, the odds are stacked against you. Facts. But the only thing you can do to control that is how you feel about it and what you're going to do about it. Before I start breaking everything down, I know there's going to be people out there say, well, I'm messed up. I don't have a job. I can't get a job. There is so many problems on different levels. There's problems with people on big levels. There's problems with people on little levels. There's problems with people getting started. There's problems with people who lost their jobs. Your problems are real and the problems are big. But the reality is, they ain't gonna go away if you just sit around and complain about them. Things change, industries change, and times do get difficult. Look. And right now, we're in the most revolutionary period in human history. Technology has reshaped the world more in the last 5 years than the past 3 decades. I have a lot of friends, especially in production and in the arts, that are complaining. They're like, hey, there's no jobs right now. AI is taking over a lot of jobs. You know what I mean? The budgets are getting smaller, blah, 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 blah. And the sad part is that they are right. All these things are happening and they're not getting better. But what are we going to do about it, right? Back in the day, in the late 90s and early 2000s, music videos were getting done for 1.5, 1.6 million. When I started doing music videos, I was trying to do this video for 75 grand, and everybody looked at me like I had the plague. Now, today, a $75,000 music video would be a luxury, you know what I'm saying? Depending on the artist. Some artists do conjure up more budgets because they have other incomes and they can spend it, they can afford it, or whatever the case might be, it makes sense. But the average budgets aren't like that right now. Music video budgets went from the average of $250,000 in the early 2000s to right now probably being $15,000, maybe 10. Some even say less. I have friends that do videos for $10,000, $25,000. I've even seen people who make videos for $2,000. But through this process, it's created new creators, new directors who took this low budget space and made a ton of money. They hustle, they work hard, but they also drive Corvettes and live good lives because they figured out a way how to service the industry. I watched this interview a long time ago, this music executive named Steve Stoute. Steve Stoute is a music executive that was really a big player around the late 90s, early 2000s, making hits and responsible for a lot of career. Now, there was a point in this time where he started seeing that CD sales were going down. You know what I mean? He started seeing that the actual physical sales of records were decreasing, and this whole new thing of streaming music is going to come into play. Steve Stoute pivoted into marketing and advertising and used his music connections that he had with the music industry and artists to sell products, to incorporate product placement, not only integrate products, but also to do ads and get sponsorship deals for artists. He took his niche and brought it into advertising and made a ton of money and gave birth to a whole new chapter in his business. Now, that's the power of content. Because of stories like this and so many stories that I watched of successful people having to change their business models because the industry's changed. There's always a way to figure it out. You just have to want it. And I know a lot of people are gonna say, yo, bro, you're talking a lot of ish. You don't know what's going on in my life. Ish is hard, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Trust me. I used to complain about everything. I used to think the world was against me. I used to complain about everyone, every situation. Now, not until I was able to change my mindset was I able to change my circumstances.